Hello students, we will start with the sixth chapter in Science 2, that is Animal Classification. Now in 9th standard you have studied about plant classification and in 8th standard you have studied about classification of living organisms. Now we all know that there are 5 kingdoms and these 5 kingdoms are, first of all, the living organisms are classified into two, that is prokaryotes and eukaryotes. Prokaryotes are unicellular organisms and they do not have a well-defined nuclear membrane or the nucleus. So we have only one kingdom in this, that is Monera. Then we have eukaryotes. They are divided into two, that is unicellular and multicellular. Now these are unicellular and they have a well-defined nuclear membrane. They have a nucleus and different cell organelles are also present. Now this has only one kingdom, that is Protista, or you can also say as Protozoa. Then we have multicellular organism. Now multicellular organism can be divided into two, that is with cell wall or without cell wall. Now if the cell wall is present, they can be either autotrophs or heterotrophs. Autotrophs, can you remember what are autotrophs? Those who can prepare their own food. Heterotrophs are the animals or the plants or the organisms which cannot prepare their own food and they are dependent on other for their food. So in autotroph, we have only one kingdom, that is kingdom Plantae. Heterotroph, we have kingdom Fungi. And if there is no cell wall, that is in animals, we do not have cell wall. So this kingdom is, that is kingdom Animalia. So according to this was given by Robert Harding Whittaker. And according to this, we have 5 kingdoms, that is kingdom Monera, kingdom Protista or Protozoa, kingdom Plantae, Fungi and Animalia. So in this chapter, we will be studying about the kingdom Animalia and the different sub-kingdom classes of kingdom Animalia and what organisms are considered in the kingdom Animalia. Now, one question is that why do we classify all the organisms? So we all know that on the earth there are millions of organisms which are present, millions of animals are present. So when we classify it, so it becomes easier for us to study. So that is why the study of the animals become convenient. We can even organize them and we can study them properly. Then we have that as the few animals can be studied in a particular group, so we can know about the group of the animals, and in one group we know that in this group that all the organisms which are included, they have the same characters. We also know about the evolution, like how reptiles were evolved and from what reptiles were evolved, from what fishes and pisces were evolved. So we know more about the animal classification and the evolution. Then we have that we identify them, we have an accuracy that how many organisms are present on the earth, how many are getting extinct, and all these things we come to know. We even come to know about their habitat, about their nature, if they are shy, or what type of animal it is, whether it is a herbivore, it is a carnivore, or what type of animal, and also what are the different adaptations that the animal has shown, what are the different changes that animal has shown because of the environment. So because of classification, we can study all these things of that particular animal. So that is why it is very important to classify animals, and these are the benefits of classification. So animals are classified into two groups, and this is on the basis of whether the notochord is present or absent. Now, if you don't know what is notochord, as we have a vertebral column in our body, so all the organisms, when they started to evolve and the vertebral column began to form, so they had the presence of this notochord. It is a cartilaginous skeleton and it is the rod that is supporting the body in all the embryonic and the adult stages. So this is what is called as notochord. So if notochord is absent, so that means that animal is a non-chordate, and if notochord is present, that means that animal is a chordate. Now notochord then evolved and it developed into the vertebral column, and we humans and all the other animals, they have the vertebral column. Now in non-chordates, the notochord is absent. They also don't have the pharyngeal gill slits. Now, if you will see in fishes, there are gills which are present. And from the fishes, all the organisms which have evolved, they all have some or the other presence of these gills. Even in our body, we also have in our pharynx, we have some few lines which are present. That is, this shows that we have evolved from fishes. So in the non-chordates, these gills are absent. Also, the nerve cord, it is present on the ventral side, and the heart is present on the dorsal side. And in chordates, we have all the opposite of this, that is body is supported by notochord, pharyngeal gill slits or the lungs. As in us, we use lungs for respiration. Fishes, they use gills for respiration. So these things are present. Then we also have the nerve cord which is present. It is on the dorsal side and it is hollow. And our heart is present on the ventral side. Now what do you mean by ventral and dorsal? So when you will stand, the front part of your body, that is the ventral side, and the back part where your vertebral column is present, that is called as the dorsal side. So we know that our heart is present on the ventral side. So in the chordates, our heart is present on the ventral side, but if it will be a non-chordate, then heart will be present behind, that is the on the back side. So these are few characters, or you can say distinguishing features of notochords and chordates. Now, chordates and non-chordates, these are two things. Now, in your exam, you don't have to study the characters of non-chordates. You only have to study the characters of chordates. Next is the classification of non-chordates. Now, there are 10 phylums which are included in non-chordates, and it is very important for you to remember these phylum in their sequence. First is Protozoa, Porifera, Coelenterata, Platyhelminthes, Aschelminthes, Annelida, Arthropoda, Mollusca, Echinodermata, and Hemichordata. Now, first phylum, that is Protozoa, example is amoeba. Porifera, example is bath sponge. Coelenterata, example is hydra. Platyhelminthes, example is planaria. Nemandihelminthes or Aschelminthes, example is Ascarisis. Annelida, example is earthworm. Arthropoda, example is cockroach or crab. Mollusca, example is bivalve. Echinodermata, sea urchin or starfish. And Hemichordata, only one animal is included in this phylum, that is Balanoglossus. And one more is there, that is Saccharogrossus. So now how to remember them in the sequence? So there is a shortcut which you can follow and remember this. You just have to remember this line. And you have to remember the first word of each, first alphabets of each word. So we have pizza, party at cafe, pay at 8 a.m., eat at home. P is for protozoa, P is for porifera. You have to forget this AT at. C is for Coelenterata. P is for Platyhelminthes. This A is for Aschelminthes. This A is for Annelida. A is for Arthropoda. M is for Mollusca. E is for Echinodermata, and H is for Hemichordata. So if you remember this line, you will remember the sequence. Most of the time it happens that you know the name but you don't remember the sequence or the order of the classification. So if you remember this line, you can learn the order of the classification and it becomes easier for you. So now we saw the classification of non-chordates. Next is the classification of chordates. Now these are, first they are classified into the phylum Chordata. Then we have three subphylums in it, that is Urochordata, Cephalochordata and Vertebrata. Now how can you remember? That is UCV, Urochordata, Cephalochordata and Vertebrata. Now this Vertebrata, that is they have the vertebral column. These are classified then into 6 classes, that is Cyclostomata, Pisces, Amphibia, Reptilia, Aves and Mammals. Now you will say how to remember these 6 phylum. So for this, what you can do is you can remember this line, that is cycle pe ana rat a m. So C is for cyclostomata, P is for Pisces, A is for amphibia, R is for reptilia, A is for aves, and M is for mammals. So in this way you can remember the classification of both non-chordates and chordates, because it is very important to remember them in order. And if you miss the order, if you, for example, if you put amphibia instead of Pisces and Pisces instead of aves or something like that, then entire marks will be deducted, because the sequence is important in this. So we have saw about the three, that is the three subphylums which are there, that is Urochordata, Cephalochordata and Vertebrata. Now here you can see that a notochord is present. This line you can see, that is called as the notochord, which evolved only in the chordates, and that is why these are called as the chordates. And those, the animals, those who don't have this notochord and the nerve cord is present, but it is present on the dorsal side. So here they are called as the chordates, and if it is present on the ventral side and they don't even have the notochord, then it is called as non-chordates. Here we have three phylum: Urochordata, Cephalochordata and Vertebrata, and then we have six classes in Vertebrata, that is Cyclostomata, Pisces, Amphibia, Reptilia, Aves and Mammals.